So, season 2 of The Last of Us has now finished, and the viewership is way down. According to this article from Game Rant, the headline is Last of Us Season 2 viewership is way down, and I'm not surprised. I actually do agree with this headline. I'm not that surprised either, because as a lifelong gamer, someone who obviously knows The Last of Us, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I am not a fan of The Last of Us. I tried playing the first game when I first got my PS3. This was back in 2013. I actually got a Last of Us bundle. It was the bundle game that came with it. I played The Last of Us for like a few hours. I got really bored and decided I'm going to trade it in. I went down to my local GameStop, traded it in. I got all 3 Uncharted games instead, and I love Uncharted. But The Last of Us to me was really boring to play. So again, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but again, all of us that are gamers knew that Joel was going to die in season 2. There's no way around that. Okay, all of us in the gaming sphere, we know about The Last of Us Part 2. We know that the big thing in that game was that they killed off Joel. Therefore, Joel was going to die in the show. So it's not that big a surprise. Anyway, let's get into this. And I am gonna jump around. I am gonna jump around this article because I think that there are points they bring up that are kind of moot. I'm just gonna get to the meat and potatoes. Okay. The Last of Us Season 2 is wrapped, and its viewership was way down compared to the first season. The second season of The Last of Us was always had an uphill battle ahead of it. While The Last of Us Part 2 earned widespread critical acclaim and won Game of the Year at the Game Awards 2020, the game is also hugely controversial with vocal detractors who were upset about certain story developments, like killing off Joel. Last of Us Part 2's unique narrative structure meant it was always going to be tricky to adapt, and if the reviews, online reactions, and viewership are any indication, it seems that the second season of the HBO series didn't quite hit the mark compared to season 1. So the first thing that they bring up is the casting of Ellie. I don't think the casting of Ellie really has anything to do with declining ratings. I think the second point that they bring up in particular has a lot more to do with it, and that is killing Joel may have driven away casual viewers. Whenever a TV series kills off a main character, it is an enormous risk. I don't want to spoil other shows by getting into specific examples, but it's not exactly a secret that while killing a main character can result in a short-term rating spike, it can often drive a lot of viewers away in the long run. The Last of Us Season 2 had no choice but to kill Joel, as Part 2's story can't happen without his death, but regardless, it is entirely possible, if not likely, that losing Joel and Pedro Pascal, for that matter, may have caused some casual viewers to become disinterested in seeing Season 2 through to its end. Here we go. Anecdotally, I know multiple people that have stopped watching The Last of Us Season 2 in the wake of Joel's death. My grandpa, this is from the article, this is not me. My grandpa didn't even stick with the show to see it play out. He got a push notification on his phone with the spoiler about Joel's death and decided that he had no reason to watch the show anymore if Joel wasn't in it. My mom, who loved the first season of the show, hasn't watched a single episode since Joel's death. Again, this is just anecdotal evidence, but it's not a leap to assume that other casual viewers have also stopped watching the show for the same reason. This is the exact thing that happened with The Walking Dead later on. Now, if we're actually examining The Walking Dead was actually on a decline in terms of ratings after Season 5. Okay, the death of Glenn and Abraham at the beginning of Season 7 did not cause fans to tune out and walk away completely. The ratings for The Walking Dead were already on the decline. But the problem with The Walking Dead is that post Season 5, and it really started around Season 7, like Season 6, Season 7, is that the show kept building up to all of these character deaths and nothing more. Okay, the end of Season 6 was the introduction of Negan, and you had to wait the entire summer to find out who took the baseball bat to the head. Okay, that was the big cliffhanger, and then it was revealed that he killed off Glenn and Abraham, and then Season 8 they killed off Carl, with Season 9 of The Walking Dead literally being a countdown to the quote-unquote death of Rick Grimes. Okay, The Walking Dead went from one of the most beloved shows on basic cable to becoming a meme in and of itself. It just kept building the character deaths, and that was it. You need a lot more for a TV show than just building up to character deaths. And that's why people started tuning out of The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead decided that they're going to focus a lot more on the shock value of killing off characters rather than building toward anything. You know, by after season 5, The Walking Dead became so formulaic. It was take the group of survivors, find a new place to hide out, build up a little society, everything goes to shit, rinse and repeat. You saw that with the farm in season 2. You saw it with the prison that was in seasons 3 and 4 until, shocker, the governor basically decided to bomb the ever-living shit out of it. You saw it again with that neighborhood at the end of season 5 going into season 6. I don't even remember the fucking name of it, because it's been so long since I've watched The Walking Dead, and I'm not even going to bother looking up what the name was, because again, I stopped watching The Walking Dead about 3 or 4 episodes into season 6, because The Walking Dead was building to nothing. The only thing it was building to was just character deaths. And this article brings up a good point, is that whenever a TV series kills off a main character, it is an enormous risk. Right, it can lead to a short-term rating spike, but it can drive a lot of viewers away in the long run, because killing off a main character is nothing more than a gimmick. It's just, ooh, shocking. But in reality, there's no real substance to it. Again, us as gamers, we understood that Joel was going to die in season 2 of The Last of Us. Okay, those of us that followed The Last of Us Part 2. But what about all the people that are watching the TV show that never played the game, right? They didn't know that Joel dies in The Last of Us Part 2, and then they kill off Joel in the very first episode of the second season. So if you're a casual viewer and you have absolutely no idea what's going on because you've never played the games, why are you going to stick around after the main character is dead? Okay, but this article also brings up another good point. This is something I've brought up too. Joel's death in The Last of Us Part 2 was widely controversial among video game fans, and so it tracks that the television audience would have a similar reaction. But besides killing Joel, the reason Season 2's viewership is down compared to Season 1 could have a lot to do with the massive wait between seasons, and I think that they have a very valid point with this. Here we go. There was too much time between seasons. The Last of Us Season 1 aired from January 2023 to March 2023 and featured 9 episodes. The Last of Us Season 2 aired 7 episodes from April 2025 to May 2025, meaning audiences had to wait over 2 years to see what happens next and had less to watch. It's normal for there to be massive gaps between game releases in any given series, but with television, such large gaps risk the audience finding other shows to watch and losing interest. The Last of Us Season 3 has not even started filming yet at the time of this writing, and it's unclear whether it will hit HBO. It's possible that Season 3 will come in 2026, but there is no guarantee, and the more likely scenario is that fans will have to wait until 2027 to see what happens next. What makes that especially hard to stomach is the fact that Season 2 ends on a cliffhanger. Abby shoots at Ellie, the screen goes black, and then the show rewinds to Seattle, day 1, to show everything from Abby's perspective, just like what happened in The Last of Us Part 2, just like what happens in The Last of Us Part 2 video game. They're not entirely wrong about the massive wait between seasons. I made a video, I think it was a few months ago, when Squid Game Season 2 came out. And I believe I titled it that, Squid Game Season 2 saw a 42.5% drop in viewership between Seasons 1 and 2. Now, I do want to emphasize with that video, the TLDR, is that I'm not saying that Squid Game is dying or Squid Game is dead. But when Netflix took 3 years to release Season 2 of Squid Game, the first season of Squid Game was not only one of the biggest Netflix shows of 2021, Squid Game Season 1 was one of the biggest Netflix originals of all time. And they took 3 years to release Season 2. Well, what happened? As I noted in that video, there was a 42.5% drop in viewers between Seasons 1 and 2. Now, Squid Game Season 2, I think ranks as the third most popular series on Netflix, but that doesn't matter. They took so long to release Season 2 that all of the hype for Squid Game, from Squid Game Season 1 was practically dead by the time Season 2 came out. So why is anyone going to go back and watch Season 2? Because, well, Squid Game was, 2-3 years ago, and there's other stuff that came out. And this is what's hurting a lot of these streaming shows, is that they're deciding to like, oh, well, you know, the next season, we're going to release it anywhere between 18 months and 3 years after the last season. And as this article brings up, is that the risk that they're running is that the audience for this show is going to find something new to watch and just completely move on. It's like, oh, season 2 of that show that I really liked a couple years ago finally came out, and I might watch it, I might not. I'm too busy watching this new streaming release or this older show, you know, something like The Office, Friends, or Modern Family. But again, I think what also is hurting The Last of Us is that the adaptation is a little too accurate to the original games, especially with killing Joel. I don't understand why the show would want to kill Joel. Okay, that was one of the most controversial decisions in the video game series, and that was purely Neil Druckmann's decision to kill off Joel in The Last of Us. It was not liked amongst the gamers, so I don't know why they repeated it for the TV show. The Last of Us TV series could have served as a correction for the killing of Joel in The Last of Us Part 2, but instead they wanted to basically replicate the games. So now you have copied what was the most controversial decision, which was to kill off Joel. And now you've also made it to where there is no difference between the television series and the video games if it's a one-to-one adaptation. Okay, I brought up The Walking Dead sooner. Even The Walking Dead was not a perfect one-to-one adaptation. I hate to break this to all you Walking Dead fans, but Daryl Dixon was not a character in the comics. He was created specifically for the show. And Carol actually died in The Walking Dead a lot sooner in the comics. I believe Carol died by issue 12, but again, Carol survived in the show all the way up to the very end, and she's even in the spinoff, The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. So again, you know, you have this is what tends to happen with adaptations. It's not a perfect one-to-one adaptation, because if it was a perfect one-to-one adaptation, then there's no reason for it to exist. If The Walking Dead was a perfect adaptation of the comics, there's no reason for The Walking Dead TV show to exist. So why in the fuck is The Last of Us a perfect adaptation of video games to screen? I might as well just fire up the PS4 or what PS4, PS5. I think they re-released The Last of Us for PS5 as well. You know, just fire up the PS4 or PS5, just get The Last of Us remastered and The Last of Us Part 2, and at that point, and just play the games. Why are you even wasting your time watching the TV show knowing that it's a perfect one-to-one adaptation?